President Obama will try to reassure a jittery nation tonight after what may have been the first ISIS-inspired attack by people living in the United States. Memorials for the victims are on display right now in San Bernardino, California. I was there earlier this week as people wept with disbelief. A married couple with semi-automatic rifles stormed the husband's holiday office event, killing 14 of his co-workers, injuring 21 others. Joining me now, Congresswoman Loretta Sanchez of California. She's a Democrat. She's running for the Senate. Thank you very much for being with me again.
Thank you, Poppy, and thanks for being out here in San Bernardino. People really appreciated it.
It's the least we could do. I'm so sorry for what happened to all of those innocent people. And as we look at this, I mean, you sit on the House Armed Services Committee, you sit on the Homeland Security Committee. We heard from the Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, this morning on NBC's Meet the Press, and she said that officials, the FBI, has done over 300 interviews. I'm interested in what intelligence you have gained at this point that you can share with us about any motivation for the attack. We've heard about radicalization. What can you tell us about sort of where that radicalization came from and to what extent?
Poppy, we're still trying to piece that together, and some of the most sensitive information obviously cannot be shared at this point. And I really would be remiss to share it, but they are working hard. I mean, Homeland Security, FBI, Justice Department, our state resources, local law enforcement are working hard to piece this together. And it may take another 10 days, 2 weeks. That's what I generally see before we really have a good picture of why, how did this happen. The most important thing right now is for Californians and for the nation to understand that our agencies are working very hard to keep them safe, and we have been the entire time.
The FBI is investigating this as a terror situation, a potential terror attack. The president has called it a terror attack. Would you call these two individuals terrorists?
I would certainly say that given the amount of ammunition and arms that they had, not only in the vehicle in which they were speeding away, but also in the purported home that they had leased, it would be very hard for someone to look at all of that armament and say these people weren't planning attacks. I think it's fairly obvious at this point that they had something that they were going to do.
The father of the male shooter, Syed Farouk, told an Italian newspaper today, La Stampa, that his son, quote, shared the ideology of al-Baghdadi, the leader of ISIS, to create an Islamic State, and he was fixated on Israel. I'm interested in your response to that. I mean, this is an American. He was raised here. This is what his father is saying. Is this ISIS at work in America?
We certainly have seen that ISIS has been incredibly effective in its propaganda machine, in its social media, in getting to people who, for various reasons, either isolation or a religious zeal for something much bigger, that they have been able to penetrate so many. This is why we see the recruiting going on, not right off of the internet. So the answer is, it is not enough to just degrade ISIS. We have to defeat ISIS. And I believe tonight the president will talk about that, and he should talk about that. And we need to understand, and he needs to tell us that he is doing everything and will do everything to protect America and Americans.
But look, this is the president, and let's take a look at him as we speak. We have some live images of the president right now in the East Room ahead of this big address. He's speaking to those who will be honored at the Kennedy Center later tonight. But when he sits behind his desk in the Oval Office and gives only his third Oval Office address of his entire presidency, what do you want to hear him say that is different, Congresswoman, from what he said so many times in the past when it comes to ISIS? What specifics are you and your constituents looking for?
I want to know that he'll say that we are going to have a decisive defeat of ISIS, that he will use every resource and that he will work with Congress to ensure that. I want him to say that he will work hard every day to ensure that America and Americans are safe. So it really is a desire to show what I know he's capable of. Remember, he was the steely one in the room when the facts might not all have been there to say we're going after Osama bin Laden and we're going to get him. So I know that he can do that, that he can be a great commander-in-chief. And I believe that Americans want to see that. But you know, it's not just the president. It has to be the Congress. It is so easy for these candidates that are running for president, especially the Republicans, to downgrade, to degrade, to do whatever it is they can to go after the president. This is not the time to do it. We must be unified as a nation with such a threat in front of us.
To be fair, we've also seen the American people losing their trust in this president in terms of his ability to counter terrorism. The latest Washington Post ABC poll shows only 40% of Americans are satisfied with how he has handled terrorism and the terrorist threat. What needs to change on that front?
Well, I think he has to be very formidable. He has to be very strong tonight. You know, I am one of those that don't like the strategy laid out in front of our enemies, if you will, because they'll be watching what we say, but the objectives have to be very clear and very strong. And the strategy, well, we need to leave it to our military and to our diplomats to figure out the most important thing he needs to do, which has been very difficult to do. And this is why I say Republicans need to be with us in order to get this done. We have to get the regional players in that area on board with us to defeat ISIL.
Right, and we heard Marco Rubio calling for that this morning as well. Representative Loretta Sanchez, I appreciate you joining me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Poppy.